Marie, my co-host, and me, Jocelyn, are going to help you maneuver this world of infomercial medicine, because that's what's out there. That's a great term. Marie has that one. I love that. So today's show, we're going to talk about right or wrong. Is there a right or a wrong type of medicine? And what are we going to choose? Do we choose traditional? Do we choose TikTok? Do we choose what's in a book? What do we do? Do we listen to grandma? There's so many choices out there. And are they right or are they wrong? For everybody, or for you or for me? It's individual. And we have to learn to be able to walk the path and figure out what's going on. We're going to try and talk about, why do we believe everything we do has to fall in this category or that category? Why does it have to be absolute? Why do we believe it has to be absolute? Why are we so set in our ways? Maybe it's just the information highway and it's coming at us at 100 miles an hour, just binging off our heads like, raindrops the last 10 days we've had in New Hampshire. We also need to determine, what does connecting to your body within have to do with any of this? I'm going to throw my glasses on because I'm straining here. So on that note, do you find yourself wondering, what do I do? I got a headache. I've got an arm ache. I got a backache. Whatever it may be. I just don't feel well. And nothing seems to help. And you're just pretending to be a doctor and just take a vitamin or take a pill or do this or do that. That's not the answer. That's not the way you want to go about this. So what do? Sit quietly. Listen to yourself. Listen to your mind. Listen to your body. It's not easy. I'm not good at it. Marie knows that. It's constantly having to help me with those things because I'm not quiet enough inside, and you have to be quiet. What is your mind, your spirit, your body telling you? We need to listen. There's no one correct answer for you or for me. So wellness from within you, your body. This show will help dispel the myths of all the types of healing out there and help you and me navigate the complicated world of infomercial medicine. So on that note, and me yakking away, welcome back, Miss Marie. So glad to have you, and find out what's been happening in the last couple of weeks, and where are we going today? What do we need to know?
Well, today we're going to talk about what's right or wrong in medicine. Because everybody has a definition of, either they like alternative, they like the complementary model of medicine, and one they define as better than the other. Some people don't like any medicine at all. Mm-hmm. The problem is there is no right or wrong in anything, but we do that with diets. There's a right diet, a wrong diet. We do it in politics. There's a right way and a wrong way. We have to get to the point where we can just sit in the information and decide if it's right for us.
Okay.
Because as you delve into self-healing, it's not just about using your doctor, your surgeon, your hospital, your alternative practitioner. You have to be part of the healing, because there's so much you can do before you even get to them. Mm-hmm. So defining why you believe there's a right or wrong is going to help you find more right answers for yourself.
Okay. And be deciding what you believe is right for you, because doesn't that play a part of it as well? You can't just always take everybody else's.
The biggest thing about having a right or wrong in your head, mm-hmm. my favorite saying, as we talked about last time, is chaos breeds chaos and balance breeds peace. So as soon as you believe one type of medicine is better than the other, you're creating chaos for yourself, and you're blocking good information from coming your way.
Okay.
So you might think that I have to take B vitamins, and I have to take another type of supplement because I read that this is this and this depletes me, so I have to eat this, when all along your body might be telling you just to eat more asparagus and it's going to cure your problem.
Gotcha.
So when you start thinking you have to do something, you're not letting the other information come through. So I tell people, if it comes in your space, mm-hmm. read it, evaluate it, and then decide, what am I looking for me, and does it fit what I want? Because as soon as you have a strong opinion against something, you shut yourself off from hearing any of the other information that's coming with it.
Like the little kids, la 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 la.
Yeah, so you have to, and the biggest thing I tell people, my other favorite saying is, uncomfortable is where change happens.
Yes.
Because when we believe in a right or wrong, here's a perfect example. I had a client ask me the other day, do I eat only organic food? And I started laughing. He goes, what's so funny? I go, because there's such a belief out there that our food supply is so depleted and you should only eat organic or you're not going to be healthy. Mm-hmm. And I said to him, I tell people first to look in the mirror and ask yourself if you're actually eating whole food.
Correct.
Right. Because a lot of people can't afford the organics, so then they believe, well, it's not that important or whatever it is, and then they make a story in their head. Mm-hmm. Or they don't want to change that part about them, so they make another story in their head. I mean, we have to start from the bare basics before we jump all the way to the organics. What are you putting on your plate? Is it whole food? Because 90% of the people, if they just change to whole food, they're going to get better.
Correct. And when you say whole food, what do you mean?
What's the theory? If grandma doesn't recognize it as food, you probably shouldn't eat it.
Okay.
Anything that's processed. The way I look at it is, I call it unchewed or chewed food. So if you pick up a piece of broccoli, it's unchewed, untouched. If you pick up a Cheez-It, it's been chewed up by the machines, it's been chewed up by the ovens, it's been chewed up by the processing. So your body can't do anything with that. That's good for you.
Correct.
You can break down the broccoli, you can get enzymes out of it, you can put it through your digestion, you can derive tons of nutrients.
It's fiber.
Out of it. So I tell people, are you eating unchewed or chewed foods already? Already chewed foods.
I like that analogy better.
So stay away from the already chewed foods. Because it kind of gives it a little bit of a gross connotation, so you kind of can get more into it versus saying processed foods. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Think about it. Is it already chewed for you? If it is, you can have it. I'm not saying you shouldn't have it. I'm saying there should be less of it in your diet.
All right, more balance.
And just by doing that alone, you're going to start to feel better. So as far as the organic thing goes, do I eat some organics? Yes, because I always had chemical sensitivities and severe allergies ever since I was a kid. And I noticed when I do certain foods that way, I feel better. So I let my body dictate which foods I do. I don't do them all.
Right.
But there's a percentage of them that I do feel a lot better when I do it.
Interesting.
So that's why I choose those. I don't choose it because I read something and it's a rule that you have to be healthy. Because there's rules for everything at this point.
Oh, yeah. And if there isn't, you can make up your own.
Yeah, they're so, I see people so paralyzed and they're eating things that nobody would ever eat because they just feel like they have to eat these things in their rawest forms, and they have to break them down, and they can't eat this and they can't eat that. And I say, ask your body how it feels. But as far as there being a right or wrong, it all comes down to let the information come through you first. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't, you're going to get yourself in a really bad situation. I have people all the time, they might have cancer, but they have such a right or wrong in their head that it's so catastrophic for them that they can't even consider doing the opposite, the one that they think is wrong. And then when they do need it, even to take it is so detrimental to them because it's so negative going through them. I mean, I've had people say to me, yeah, I got to go get my poison treatment today. I'm like, don't tell your body that. What are you doing? Because they think chemo, it's bad. People.
So on top of having to do something to make yourself better, they're mentally making it worse for themselves. And so now the body's like, oh, this is terrible. Mm-hmm. And everything's in a negative.
And I tell people, when you get cancer, you don't always know why. Mm-hmm. So if you don't absolutely know why, the complementary model of medicine is going to buy you time to figure it out. The alternative is not. Mm-hmm. If you have an understanding of why and you're making lifestyle changes and you're making, modifications in your stress levels because you have a complete understanding that I created this cancer myself, fine, go the alternative route. But if you don't, there's a great track record with the complementary route to get you to the point, because if nothing changes in you, nothing can change in your health profile going forward. Mm-hmm. People have this misunderstanding. If I do the medicine, therefore I'm better. If nothing changes in you, you're going to keep repeating history.
Correct.
No matter what it is.
Repeat, rinse,
Diabetes,
repeat, rinse,
if you don't control your blood sugars, you're going to keep adding on the meds, and it's going to keep going down that same track. The medicine isn't curing you. The medicine is holding you at bay until the next step.
Right. Till you figure out.
You have to be the one that brings it back. and say, okay, I now found out I'm a type 2 diabetic, but if I change my lifestyle, I mean, I think type 2 diabetes can be a gift, because it's one of those things, if you find out early enough and you literally change your lifestyle, start exercising, cut your carbs, lose some weight, you get your health back indefinitely forever. If you don't, you're going down this negative path.
It's like a plus plus.
But it actually has that certain amount of time that you can reverse it and get your life back.
Wow.
So it's just a good wake-up call for you to say, okay, I got to do something different.
And a positive outlook, and that is worth everything.
Right, but what happens with the right or wrong, now you get diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and it's dinner time. And your mind is so, I have to eat my food this way, and that's the only right way to eat it. You know, my favorite example is pork pie. You know, you go to somebody's house for Christmas and pork pie, if it's made grandma's way, is good pork pie. If it's not, I'm not eating it, it's not good pork pie. And there's such a right or wrong in how families derive whether pork pie is right or not. So they're either going to eat it or not. And people do that when they get diabetes and stuff and heart disease, because the food they eat is either right or wrong to them. And then when you tell them to change their lifestyle and their diet, they do it for about 3 months. But then they're so burnt out and overwhelmed, they just go back to what they know because that's more right to them. That's more right to them.
And they're not open to change because they stuck with the right and wrong.
Because they didn't find out enough information. They're just absorbing it as, I have to do this. I'm taking in the information the doctor told me to, so I'm doing it. But it never becomes yours unless you truly understand the information, understand why your body wants it, assess how your body is doing with the change.
You'll know whether you're feeling better or not.
Then you'll own it. But if you just go through the motions, our right and wrongs of how we see life is going to eventually take over, no matter who we are.
Right. And so you're never open to change, and it's always, well, I have to do this, I have to do that, and you're not sitting in a little quiet space saying, did I feel better? Do I feel better today? Do I feel better this week? Do I feel better today than I did last week, same time?
Right.
And that's what we're not doing. That's what I'm hearing you say, is that we just, this is what he said, this is what I do, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, like the little engine, I know I can, I know I can, I know I should. But we never take the time to assess, how do we feel in this body?
And I have a client recently who had to have bypass surgery. And they put him on the beta blockers, you know, the traditional cholesterol medication and everything else. And he's totally against complementary medicine. But he did the surgery because he was kind of forced by his kids and stuff like that. So he comes to see me and tells me he's not taking any of the meds. And I ask him why, and he tells me because they're all bad for him. And I said, well, you're not in the body that you were in. I said, so some of these meds help with the adjustments to your new being. And then I explained to him what a beta blocker does and all the details. And he's looking at me and goes, well, I need to take that.
Yes,
I go,
you do.
yeah, you do. He goes, why didn't the doctor tell me that? And I go, I can't explain why the doctor didn't explain that to you. But maybe he did, and you were so blocked at it being medicine that you couldn't hear it. Did he go into the details that I went into? Probably not. Because I can say it pretty much in a way that you're going to be like, oh my God, I want to take that because, yeah. So it's just a matter of, he had to look in the mirror and decide for himself what he really wanted for himself first. Then he could get rid of the wrong in his head.
Right. Right.
Because he didn't want to hurt the grafts that they had just put in. That was never his intention in denying the medication.
And he probably didn't connect those dots either.
He did
because
not,
he was so set in the no.
that he was going to risk the grafts that they had just done. And then he was like, well, I can't do that.
Right.
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 So I think that complementary medicine has to take that step forward too and be willing to talk to people more, because now they have such a right or wrong when they're sitting in the office, the practitioner shuts down.
Correct.
On both sides. The minute you mention you're taking a med, the alternative might shut you down and start pushing their stuff because they think the med is bad, or the other one's doing the complementary's doing the same thing because they think the supplement's bad. But nobody's hearing what you want for you or explaining and helping you decide what is right for you. And
maybe why you feel that way, and talk a little bit about that, which is what you're doing.
Right. So I tell people, if you don't get rid of the right or wrong and let the information flood through you, you're letting other people decide your fate. And who do you trust enough with your fate?
You should trust
yourself. You're
yourself.
Trusting the internet, you're trusting your friends, You're trusting things you watched on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
You're trusting this fear inside of you that's shutting you down from letting any of your answers come forward. So we have to sit with ourselves. And my work, connecting to your body within, again, it's the stuff that I have in my courses on my website, in my book and stuff. It shows you how to wake up that part of you that talks louder than your head.
Mm-hmm.
Because that part of you that knows whether this is right for you or not is going to shut up that voice that keeps shutting everything down. And the only way you can do that is to start becoming present when you're in that right or wrong, because otherwise the chaos of you reacting, no, I won't do it, I'm not going to have it, you know, is pretty crazy. And it just keeps shutting you down over and over again.
So and you actually never move forward.
You don't.
And you sometimes actually move backwards.
You don't.
Right. Because you just can't move that foot. You're paralyzed.
I see people in chronic pain. The minute they exercise, it hurts, so they don't exercise. You sit too long, it hurts. So you got to get up and exercise, but it hurts. So nothing ever changes.
Mm-hmm.
And I say to them, you got to take one day at a time, because some days you have to push your body and some days you have to pull back. No, it hurts. I can't do it. When I did that last time, it hurt. I go, but the more you sit, the more you're going to hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a point where you can push past that. But people are so afraid of it being wrong and they're going to hurt themselves, you know, and then they read something.
But yet you're already hurt. So how do you...
But it's crippling. It's crippling in our minds because we're not sitting in that moment saying, well, maybe I can do 20 steps today. No, I did them yesterday and they hurt me. I can't do them.
Okay, so do 19. But you're so paralyzed and so frozen that you can't even say, okay, I'll do 19. Right. You can't... What just occurred to me, what I just felt and what I heard in my head was that we're incapable of negotiating with our own head.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because we're so, it's the same way you raise your kids. It's the same way you have a relationship with your husband or your wife or your partner. You know, it's the same way when you're in a job with your coworkers. We all have roles that we play that have rights or wrongs in them, and they dictate outcomes all the time. And then we live in reaction of that outcome, and then nothing ever changes, and nothing ever goes more to a better place.
Gotcha.
But if you can take a step back instead of getting into the chaos and start watching yourself and what your role is in all of it, you can start to really change the course of your life.
That's
because we all live in very reactive behavior. But the key is, as soon as you react to something, say I say to you, you know, I really think you should try to eat asparagus, but you don't like asparagus.
I don't like asparagus. It's green, and it makes my pee smell funny.
Right. But I have people
Sorry, I
say,
had to throw that in.
It's the texture. It's the texture. And I go, well, what is texture? What is the texture that you're afraid of? You know, it's like a little kid who can't try a new food because he thinks everything's going to taste like his chicken nuggets and french fries.
Yep.
You have to explain to them, you know, this one's going to feel a little slimy. This is going to feel a little this, but the creaminess of it is really going to make a difference. So if you can take the food on its merit, instead of all that dialogue that you've got going on, you can start making changes in your diet.
Well, I have to tell you that, so all of you that don't like asparagus or broccoli, I'll give you one word: air fryer.
There you go.
You can make asparagus spears that are like chips. Just saying.
I agree. I love my air fryer. I'm a huge air fryer.
Yeah, I mean, but there's another myth. Oh, it's not good for you the way that it cooks like a microwave. It kills all the food. You shouldn't cook in a microwave.
I had somebody working in my office at one point. Every time she went to go cook her lunch, she would put it in the microwave, and she says, yeah, I know, I'm killing this, and I'm putting all this radiation and everything else. I go, why do you tell your body that? You're just warming up your lunch.
Yeah.
You're just warming up your lunch.
This is going to be warm, you're going to love it.
Because she's still eating it anyway.
Yeah.
But she has this fear because she has no other option to warm up her lunch. So now she's going overboard and giving her body all these negative messages. And you just can't
imprinting
do
it
that.
right onto what you're eating and drinking, which does happen because everything's a vibration.
If you eat your lunch and it poops you out and you feel really tired, ask why. Was it the microwave? Try to eat the same thing out of a microwave. If it doesn't make you tired, then maybe it is the microwave, and you shouldn't use the microwave. You know, if you eat something and it makes you really tired and it's not the microwave, find out why. Maybe it's too many carbs.
Correct.
Maybe there's something in the vegetable that doesn't agree with you.
Correct.
You don't know. You don't know. But we put everything in this tunnel of reaction of right or wrong that we can't get past it to get to the next step.
Wow.
It's pretty crazy.
It is pretty crazy.
Crazy. And past experiences dictate that as well. Because the whole thing with the spirituality world is living in the present moment. Mm-hmm. And everybody thinks it's about sitting there chewing your food and, you know, experiencing the birds outside. Living in the present moment is really about living in that moment without blinders, so you can make the decision for the next step of your journey. Because if you're living in the right or the wrong and the fears and the beliefs and all that stuff, you can't see what's really in front of you to get you to the next leg. You're making a decision based on what happened in the past, mm-hmm. or where your future's going according to all that dialogue.
Right.
You want to just sit right in it, because Lynn's actually not upset today. Oh, maybe I can get more out of Lynn today than I normally could, because I'm not going to really talk to Lynn. But if you live in what, you know, you had a bad moment with her, right. Now you're never going to talk to her again.
Correct. And you're tainted.
But she's your answer to get you your new car or whatever it is. You mm-hmm. totally miss that opportunity. But if you look at her, well, maybe she was just having a bad day, because we have this dialogue all the time that stops us. So being in the present moment, sure, you can sit there and chew your food and see how your food feels, but it's more about being in the moment of the day to see that you just missed your kid asking you for help, or you just missed your husband doing something else, or you missed that you forgot something, like I forgot something on the way here.
Yeah. Or that hummingbird that's right by the flowers next to you that you should be enjoying while you're eating that food.
Yeah.
That you blink, they're gone.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just sit there quietly, and that's what we don't do.
Right.
We're trained not to. Just keep moving, keep talking, keep pushing along, and we need to stop. It doesn't mean don't do anything, but it means stop and listen, stop and feel, stop and smell. When they say stop and smell the roses, they're not kidding.
Right.
It truly, truly, truly.
And observe yourself when you're doing it, so you can see how you're smelling the roses, just to see what you're like, because you don't even know what you're like, because we live in reaction to everything.
Yep.
And if people want to learn more, I mean, my website's marienodig.com. You can check out my course about just sitting quiet, and it helps you connect on different levels. It helps you see your body within from different ways and to really spark that interest inside of yourself. If not, there's plenty of other teachers out there. And I'm not the only one.
Yep.
You know, this show is designed to find the one that works for you.
And there's no right, and there's no wrong.
Right or wrong. I'm just one resource. You're a resource. Anybody we bring on this show is a resource, and you get to decide, does that feel right to me or not? And when we do start bringing guests forward, which we're going to do today, we have our first one, you have to ask yourself, if you find her work different than something you would ever do, are you making sarcastic comments about it right out of the gate? Mm-hmm. Why?
Or are you open to hearing?
Exactly.
Or just...
It's just information.
It is. And you want to learn something,
and
so
obviously,
look at it as learning.
If there's a certification and all kinds of people are doing it, it is helping people. It may not be right for you, but it is helping people.
Right, and you don't want to put that down.
So it's right for somebody. You know, I tell people the reason why there's so many makes of cars is because we're all very different.
And there's no one car for one person.
There's no one car for one person, but we seem to think everything else has to fit in that box. And medicine is one of them. There is no right or wrong. It could be a supplement that you need. It could be a drug that you need. It could be somebody's hug that you need. It could be you changing your lifestyle. It could be, so we want you to kind of get up close and personal with yourself and find out what you need. And you have to ask yourself, what does healing mean to me, so I can go looking for those answers? And that's a big one. If you don't know what you're looking for,
you're not going to find it.
Healing could be you're just looking to make sure your cholesterol is right, or you want to age gracefully and learn everything about yourself, or you want to exercise more, or you want to heal your relationships along with your body and everything else. So you got to find out, you know, and I have some free ebooks on my website with that. Just answer the questions and find out for yourself, what am I looking for? Then you can start looking for answers. But until you know, there's nothing you can do.
Exactly. Well, on that note, we're going to take a break, and we're going to bring in our very first guest. We are very excited to have our first guest on our second show. So we are marching forward and bringing all sorts of opportunities and information that you can decide and learn about. So we will see you. We will come back. Thank you for joining us. Good afternoon and welcome to part 2 of Wellness from Within. This is our second show in a series that we hope are going to go on for a very long time. There's a lot of information. There's a lot of different people we want to talk to. Marie has just been chomping at the bit to do one of these shows, and I am super excited to be able to go along with this journey with her. And today is our first guest, Miss Rebecca Packard. So welcome to the show. I'm going to talk a little bit about Miss Rebecca. So Rebecca does emotional code and body code healing. And this assists people in releasing trapped emotions without having to relive the events that created them. Alternative medicine. There are certifications, in her line of work. You can self-practice. You can have a practice with clients, and there are many, many ways you can use your certification. Important information when you are looking for somebody that you want to be working with. To find more information, you can visit discoverhealing, that's one word, .com. Discover Healing by Dr. Brad Nelson. If you want to find out more about Rebecca, you can visit RebeccaPackard.com, and I will repeat this at the end of the show. And if you are searching the internet, you can put a keyword, it's 2 words actually, emotional code. It's a worldwide practice of about 8,000 practitioners. So it's not some little obscure little practice. It's not covered by insurance due to the limitations of alternative therapies. And with that, welcome to the show, Miss Rebecca, and thank you for being here, Miss Marie.
All right.
So why don't we dive on in? Would you like to start?
Sure.
Cool.
Okay, so does your modality work with other modalities? Like, do you complement other types of therapy that people are using?
Yes, absolutely. In my own practice, I use a meditation, I use emotion freedom tapping, Jinsen Jitsu, and even yoga.
So what about if somebody's using a different, like they're taking supplements, they're in cancer treatments, they're using a practitioner, those kinds of things?
Yes, absolutely.
Is there any things that you can't work alongside?
No.
So it's just more of a support system?
It's a definite support system. I have clients who are in chemotherapy. I work with women who are going through their birth space, so like supporting doulas and helping women in the birth space. I have worked with people who are post-treatment for heart surgeries, lung surgeries, knee replacements. It's a really great support for those spaces because of how it helps your body just really be open to healing what caused the injury, but also accepting any parts you may have gotten from somebody else. So,
could you explain that?
So everybody has their own vibrational frequency. I like to call this your silent vibrational frequency. And if I took your lung and put it in my body, your lung is carrying your different emotions that we store in the lung.
Oh, so you mean if somebody's had a transplant?
Yeah.
Then, okay.
And then,
I was like, parts from someone else. How would they do that?
yes.
Okay, so it's from a transplant. I get that.
Yes, transplant.
Yeah, I know Up Ledger talked a lot about that in his work as well, the vibration of that. Okay, so I understand that. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if somebody's looking to find a practitioner in the emotional code, what are they looking for? Like if they talk to them, what makes a good practitioner? Because you know as well as I, everybody has their own way of looking at life, and you want to make sure that you're getting a practitioner that's seeing the benefits of maybe
the current therapies that you're in right now.
Well, no, like there's many people that do Reiki, but there's different interpretations to Reiki to every practitioner who does it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say, from my own personal experience in being in formal medicine and in alternative medicine, the number one thing is if you are going to work with someone, do you like them? Like when you sit down with them, do you go, oh, I'm comfortable with you? Or are you like, because if you are, like, that's probably not the practitioner you want to work with. You know, very stressed out. Like, if you are somebody who's a laid-back human, but your practitioner is high-strung, it's not going to be probably the best working environment or healing environment for you. So first, just that. Okay, so how do I feel in the room with you? Am I comfortable with you? Do I feel like I want to share my life story with you? Because there's some deep stuff that comes up, even if you're like, well, I'm here for toe pain. Who knows where that's going to go? Like, we could come up with some really different directions for that. So do you want to be able to share those stories with that person? The other thing is are they practicing what they're preaching? Like, are they...
Okay, that's a really good one.
Like, are they practicing what they're preaching? If you're going to somebody and they're not even practicing their own practice, then...
What's that all about?
What's that about?
That's a very good point. Very good point.
I emotion code every single day, like, because it's that beneficial. But that is like when I go to a doctor, if I'm going to see a doctor and he's telling me I need to lose weight, okay, kettle black, okay. So like,
that's very,
I start with those very simple things first, and then, okay, are they certified? How long have they been in practice? Go on their Google sheet. What's the reviews say? What are people saying about them in other spaces? What does it say in their, like, do they have a testimonial page on their website? Find out, what are people saying? Like, are people saying nice things about them? That's important. Or nobody saying anything about them.
Right.
Like, what is their history? How long have they been doing this? Has this been a bigger part of their life? And are they doing this for them? Or are they doing this for you? Because sometimes you'll get with someone and they'll start to work with you and they'll be like, I offer this, and I offer this, and I offer this, and I offer this, and I'll need to see you again, and I'll need this, and like, okay, sometimes that is amazingly beneficial. But like, if you're like, well, I'm here, this is what my focus is, this is the only thing I want to work on, then you don't want to be being pushed to all these other things.
Exactly.
So if they're just like in it for that, or are they like, let me listen to exactly what you have to say. Let me take in what you're saying. Let me listen to the outline of, okay, so you're saying this, this, and this. Okay, well, this is what that looks like, or this is how we can make that work. Does that sound good for you? Okay, awesome.
Nice. Nice.
That's how I look at it. And
it's a working relationship.
It should be a working relationship. It shouldn't be like walking into Walmart and buying a pair of shoes, but it also shouldn't be like sitting down with a car salesman. So, a happy balance of all the things.
Right. So is there bias toward your modality? Do people have their own little weirdness that they, I know I get it. I mean, for me, I don't know. Sometimes it takes 2 years for the husband to walk through the door, or the spouse to walk through the door, or the son to walk through the door, and the first thing they say is, not at all what I thought. You don't look like it, you don't act like it, you're not at all what I thought.
Exactly.
This isn't at all what I thought. The minute they hear energy medicine, they think this woo-woo thing, and
literally have had people be like, and I'm going to say it, and somebody's going to be offended, and it's okay, you can be offended. I love you where you're at. I have had people walk in and go, well, you're not the dirty hippie I thought you were going to be.
Exactly.
And I'm like, no, I don't smell of patchouli and have dreadlocks and corduroys. Like, that's not my life. It was when I was 13. It's not anymore. I will own that. But yes, I have had people who didn't want to work with me because of a plethora of things. I can't see what you're doing. No, you cannot. It is not a tangible thing. It is not something you're going to be able to hold, but you will feel it. You will know it's happening. You will know that something has changed. The other thing is that some people are just really, really focused on a stereotype of a social decision. And so some people, because of religious beliefs or because of personal practices, they won't work with me, and that's okay. You do you, I'll do me, and that's what works. Like, you don't have to. I'm not going to make anybody do this, and but I also don't think other people should push other people away from people if this is what works for them.
Which is what we were speaking about earlier in the first half of the show, right and wrong. There is no right or wrong for any one person or any one modality.
Absolutely.
But yet, both of you deal with that probably on a daily basis, nonstop.
Every day.
Yeah.
And I think it's sad for me because a lot of my clients who benefit immensely, and it's changed their lives and it's helped them heal all kinds of things, they can't share it with their family. A lot of them, they keep it under wraps because they're afraid of the recourse,
the repercussions.
Yeah.
And that's a conversation that more and more people should have, and I love that it is becoming a more open conversation, and like this show will bring about opening the door to that conversation, because the other part of that is you don't have to like what somebody else is doing. Don't do it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations.
There's the choice.
It's not for you.
Right.
But if it works for them, don't put them down because it works for them. I had a personal injury and I went to a chiropractor for 3 times a week for 2.5 years. I went to physical therapy for 4 times a week for 2.5 years. I sat on my couch non-ambulatory for 4 years while I had infants. And I went to acupuncture twice a week for 3.5 years. Nothing touched my injury. I was doing Reiki, I was doing yoga, I was meditating, I was tapping, I was doing Jinsen Jitsu, I was doing anything people threw at me. Here's an oil, okay, let me put it on. I did everything. Emotion code was the only thing that made my pain go away and made it capable for me to walk. Because I couldn't.
Wow.
So that's, you don't have to like somebody else's.
The take home.
Yeah.
Even for me with the paralyzed muscles on my right side. And I mean, I was one of 14 in the entire country. There wasn't even a treatment protocol for me. And then the treatments that did occur were just making it worse and worse. And I was flat on my back for years on the floor with the kids playing around me.
Right.
Went back to school for my exercise science degree and nothing worked. And I had to figure it out. And it was all in here. So people poo-poo a lot of the modalities that are all inside, but we have an inner strength within us that is so powerful that we can overcome almost anything if you're willing to go there. You know, I'm on some stuff on Instagram and everything else, and it saddens me to see all these people wanting likes for having a bad day.
Yeah.
And it just feeds them and feeds them and feeds them because the worse they feel, the more likes they're going to get.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, what do I need to do?
What do I need to do for myself?
And most of them say, I'll try anything, I'll try anything. And because I've been in that situation, I've even reached out and said, look, I'm not asking for any money. I want to offer you this. Not even a response because they won't try anything. They think either I'm trying to scam them or I'm trying to do something or there's something inside of them that pushes away. I mean, you can see my website. I'm legit. I'm not a scammer. But I think it just scares people and the victim modality has to go. We have to step up into our personal power.
So on that same note, so being the third person here as we're comparing injuries, and it's not a one-upsmanship, but injured on the job, and I went the route of multiple 15 surgeries and started working with Rebecca because nothing was working. The surgeries fixed what was broken.
Right.
But there's a whole bunch more left to go that you can function. And so worked with Rebecca, and then I was left with, well, you can have, you know, the 6-inch giant Botox jabs into you, and they work the first time, they don't work the second time, and you're left there going, I don't know. And I met Marie. Yeah. And come to find out, Marie had the same injuries, had gone through a surgery, which was going to be my next step, and said, let's think on this a little bit.
And that's what paralyzed my right side going through the surgery.
Correct.
Right.
So,
Well, and I wasn't even a surgical candidate. They just wanted me to continue to have pain shots in my hip and they literally walked me through, you'll have pain shots every 6 months for the rest of your life, and when the scar tissue gets too big, we might be able to remove it. We probably won't because you're not a surgical candidate, and where we want to put this, it might make it worse, it might make it better. But then the other thing is I was doing all those things. I was doing all the different modalities, doing all the different things. None of those things were touching it because the emotions that were released were not mine. They were inherited from the female line of my family. Not one of them was mine. So I could work on it all I wanted. I wasn't going to fix it because I had inherited it.
Wow. And then you found within that strength and that healing, and you were able to, I don't know what the wording is I want to say, but reach it?
I think for me, it's more she does it more on an emotional piece. I do the emotional piece as well, but I do a lot of the physical piece because that is my strong suit. You know, some people call me a medical intuitive because I can see the dysfunction in the physical, and I can help the body will guide me into realigning and breaking up the scar tissue and realigning the musculoskeletal, along with opening the energy flow, because the energy flow is your body. So somehow I'm able to see that and manipulate that really well. I know it's a good Qigong. If you really delve deep in Qigong, a Qigong master can do the same thing. But I think me needing it so badly for myself woke it up inside me, because I have people waking it up inside them all the time. You know, I have kids that can do it to themselves now. I have grown-ups that are doing it to themselves as well. And they just lay there and they can see what's wrong internally, and then they can start to manipulate and break their own scar tissue. I mean, I have people with tons of belly scarring. That's the worst thing you can have, because it pulls you down, it misaligns your gait, it screws up your shoulders, it screws up your neck, and they're breaking it up themselves by just holding. They're not manipulating, and they're not going to twist their organs. Just the energy itself and your focus can go inward and make all these things happen. And we're so powerful. We're all born with a way to help ourselves. You know, she found her way, I'm finding my way, and there's many other practitioners that have found their way. That's what the point of this is. There's no one way. Our skills develop on our needs, and if we can find, as a person watching this, what you need, you're going to find that practitioner that might have similar needs that you had, and you'll work really good alongside them. You know, medicine is really important as well. I don't discount anything as a gift, because if it's in the universe, it's a gift. So sometimes you need the medicine. I mean, I still use the medicine when I need it. I'm not opposed to it. You know, the alternative medicine is great too, but that is such a small box, because the alternative just gives you supplements like the docs give you pills. It's so short-sighted into the whole picture of healing. And it can be, like she said, other people's stuff. Because, you know, you're afraid of spiders, your mother's afraid of spiders, your grandmother's afraid of spiders. You never even saw a spider. Why are you afraid? It carries. A lot of these patterns carry. And sometimes you don't know why you're in the right or wrong, because they just carried through generations. And if you can sit with it, you can start to heal those things inside of yourself. And you can break down a lot of barriers and start self-healing at a deeper level. I mean, again, it goes back to what do you define healing for yourself? Because again, some people might want to just fix the ankle and be done with it. Some people might want to just open themselves to a new way and just be happier inside. So talk to me a little bit to understand what emotion code and the healing is. We'll go through a typical session. Go through a typical session.
So a typical session. So first of all, I don't do one-on-one in person. My one-on-one is via Zoom. Some practitioners see people in person. I don't do that because I don't have to. So you either come to a session with me on the phone or on Zoom or 100% full distance. Either way, I am going to go through this as we start the session at the time that it's at, and I welcome you in. We do a clearing that helps connect the energy for each other better, so that you're going to be able to release more. So you're going to have, I call it the reset and rebalance phase, is going to go with ease and grace. And then we go into emotion code. And if we're on the phone or if we're on a Zoom, we'll have a conversation. What are we working on? What do you want to look at? And I'll start releasing emotions. Usually I have a list of focus spaces, and I have a huge amount of questions that I ask very quickly that take me through those spaces. And using kinesiology and intuition, find the emotions that are in that space and then release the emotions. As we're talking about those things, other things might come up. And so in that conversation, I like to say I'm kind of like Alice following the rabbit down the hole. Other things come up. Those are usually attached to the emotions that we're releasing. And so we follow those, because sometimes people are like, well, I don't know why I need to tell you that. Like, when I was 6 years old, I was on the bus, someone stole my Kit Kat, and I was so angry. And I'm like, let's go there, because clearly that's where we're working. And so we release the emotions. When we get to the end,
Can I just interrupt for a second? So you went back to the 6-year-old Kit Kat, and I just want to give an example of how powerful that is. I mean, I used to have a dream, and I used to wake up, in the night in cold sweats. And it was in Manchester. And I was on the dam, somewhere on a ledge on the Amoskeag Dam, and I was going to fall in the water and drown. So every time I drove by that dam, I would have the chills through my whole early 20s. I would have these dreams all the time. And then one day, my daughter she's in first grade, and I've got all these 5-year-olds going on a field trip to the Amoskeag Dam. And I've never seen this ledge before, no matter how many times I drove by it. So next thing you know, we're inside, we go out the back door, and we're standing on this ledge in my dream. So now my heart stops. So these kids never left my side, I can tell you. We've just been like that. So I leave there, and I'm almost in tears, and I stop at my parents' house, and I go to my father goes, "What is wrong?" And I tell him the story, and he smiles. And I go, "What's so funny?" He goes, "Pepe used to work there, and when you were a year old, they used to bring you out on that ledge, and you used to scream your head off at the water. And we had to bring you inside because you were so afraid."
Mm. Wow.
Yeah. And so if you carry that, my first child almost drowned twice in swimming lessons before I found this out, and my second one never had swimming lessons. So my fear of water just kept magnifying until I never had a dream since that day, because it released that memory and it was over with.
Because it was acknowledged.
So we don't even know those things that we carry, because as a child you have an interpretation, but that's not how life works. It's the only thing you had at the time. It was scary, it was loud, and So she's absolutely right, because I've experienced it myself through my own work and doing it. Wow. Yeah. But there's so many things as a child that your parents think you know what they're saying, but you have your own interpretation, and that's what carries you on how you look at life. So I always asked my kids, I was really big about it. If I said something, what did I say? I'd make them explain it back, because whatever's going on in their head is not what you said. And that's going to carry them making decisions later in life.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, I just wanted to...
And the fact that you were having an extreme emotional response, and at that point in time, they were like, okay, let's just come inside, instead of what's happening in your head.
Exactly.
Or, I understand you're terrified right now. I'm really sorry. You don't need to be afraid. I'm right here.
And this is just water.
Or like an explanation. So you hold on to that, and our body creates a chemical lock. So it's not just emotional. When you have an emotion, that happens in an organ system. That organ system releases hormones. Those hormones get locked into your body. So until you release that and come to a space of safety again, which releases another different set of hormones that rinses that out of your body, you're carrying that. And so then while we're releasing the emotions and going through that, then when we get to the end, or we have released all the emotions in that space, I then just walk them through, what does the next 24 to 72 hours look like? This is your reset and rebalance time. You're going to want to drink a lot of water. You're going to want to just have grace with yourself. I'll follow up with you in the next 24 hours. And then also just in the next 4 to 7 days, acknowledge what's different. You're going to notice things right away. But if we're working on, like for people, we release heart walls, or I work a lot with people about their relationships or about being angry. Lots of people are angry these days, and they want to get rid of it. And I'm like, so look, what's the things that used to trigger you? Are they still triggering you? Has that conversation changed? Are you sitting in the car having road rage? I've worked with a lot of road ragers these days, and I'm like, how many times did you yell at the traffic? They were like, oh my God, I didn't yell at the traffic once this week. And I was like, that's fantastic. You didn't work from home, right? They're like, no, I went in every single day. And I'm like, and you used to.
And it's what we were talking about earlier. It's that reaction that you're into. Yeah. And until you figure out why you're reacting, you're not going to change it. So you have to be able to get to the point where you can observe yourself and see. And she's helping them do that. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So in the last 2 minutes that we have, how can people find you?
I can be found on the internet at RebeccaPackard.com. I have a podcast called Rebecca Packard Live Free. You can listen to it on Apple, iPad, any carrier of a podcast system. And I'm on Instagram at Rebecca Packard NH, and on Facebook at Rebecca Packard.
So we just put in Rebecca Packard, and you're going to pop up.
And you will find me. If you Google Rebecca Packard, you'll find all the places you can find me.
I love that. And Miss Marie?
I'm at Marie Notig, KNOETIG.com. And yeah, I have a Facebook and Instagram, Body Within Healing, because again, it's all about going inward and tapping.
I love it.
Yeah, but and this is all about everybody finding their place.
Finding the path,
that
getting on that path,
for them.
and what
and
works
like I
for
said,
you.
it's not going to just be the energy piece here. We're going to get chiropractors, acupuncturists, massage therapists, try to get a primary care in here, you know, all the different modalities that exist. I have a list of about 100. So it's not just what we think in the mainstream world. There's so many, you know, it could be sound healing. It could be so many different things. I mean, people who do the bowls, I mean, some people love that and just gives a calmness over them.
Yeah, we've got crystals, we have vibrations.
There's so many different avenues you can go that might feel right for you to find your answers. Like I said, there's no one answer other than you got to go here first to figure out what you want, how you define healing, and start listening to that gut to get you in the right direction.